Hello and welcome back to Warcraft Daily for today, the 14th of April 2014. So in today's news, well, we've got a interview with the developers about Warlords, and we've got some talk about packs, and then a few little screenshots which appeared that show the Garrison essentially in action. And yeah, let's just start off the show by having a look at these screenshots. I'm very impressed by the ones of the Garrison. It looks decently bustling, but what I really like is just seeing all these new building models together in one place. They definitely seem to have a lot of character to them, and there's just something about the whole thing that is, in my opinion, just really appealing. I can't really see it too well, but I'd like to know if those white walls off to the side have got an update, like an upgraded texture. I'd imagine that they will, because I think the standard Stormwind style ones would look very out of place. Still though, it's looking very good. All the buildings are looking, really decent. Just looking at some of the NPCs that are walking around the place. I don't know how they're going to sort of function with that, but what I've heard about the AI of the Garrisons is actually kind of interesting. So yeah, there's definitely potential here. The Garrisons, it's a feature that I'm very excited for, but also a tiny bit worried about. And this doesn't really, allay any of those concerns, but it is at least nice to know that it is visually looking quite good. Alright, so next is a screenshot of the Spires of Iraq. Unfortunately, because of the mist and a few other things, can't really see too well, but, well, all we can see is an Arakoa settlement there in the background. It looks pretty cool. I'm not particularly sure what I'm going to think of this zone. I mean, of course, I'm never going to know until I actually get into the game, but yeah, I guess just the color palette's looking a little bit washed out, and that's kind of sad for me. Anyway, so there's that, but moving on, we got another great screenshot of Frostfire Ridge, which is looking to be one of my favourite zones. Honestly, just aesthetically, I think it's fantastic. And then finally, we have a shot of Shadowmoon Valley, which, for what I like, looks amazing. I love that aesthetic. I know a lot of people are just going to say it's, boring old field, but whatever, I like it. Hey, personal preference and all that stuff. Anyway, so that's the screenshots. Let's move on and talk about a developer interview. Now, first of all, this is one of the most frustrating interviews that I've ever listened to. And it was with BlizzPro, by the way, nothing to do with the BlizzPro guy. He actually came prepared with a whole bunch of like viewer questions and stuff because he was looking at his phone at a list of them. But it was just kind of annoying. There was like one or two guys at Blizzard, and they just, like, every time a question, not every time, obviously, that's an exaggeration, but a good proportion of the time, every question was turned into a level 90 boost thing. For an example, scalable dungeons were turned into level 90 boost. The guy asked about new druid forms, and somehow the developer was able to turn that talk about druid forms into the level 90 boost. The guy should be a politician, absolutely, but I think Blizzard just need to watch out when they're doing interviews that if, obviously, everyone, both sides go into an interview with a kind of agenda and a thing to do and, certain information to say, and that's fair enough, that's the point of an interview. It's one of the things that I guess press end up doing for companies. It's a little bit weird that, but yeah, that's one of those things. Just still, if they could maybe make it a little bit less obvious and a bit more natural, then it wouldn't be as kind of grating on people. Like the YouTube video for it, there's a lot of people just say, oh, come on, you don't need to turn everything into level 90 boost. We already know what the feature is. There's only so much they can kind of, beat us with that stick. So, just a little bit of a personal gripe with the interview, but that's fine. Anyway, let's talk about the actual interesting things that we found out. So first of all, in terms of quests, they said that storylines are going to be a lot more punchy and condensed. Then they also talked a little bit about how they thought the Jade Forest had a decent story. I mean, I kind of beg to differ, but one of the problems is that it was really bogged down by all the random things that we had to do. I guess all those random things may be what just sort of made the Jade Forest into a very annoying experience for me, I suppose, because I know it had a story, but I just never enjoyed my time in the zone, if you know what I mean, so that was a bit of a problem. Anyway, so what they're going to be doing is, on your map, you'll see a whole bunch of markers, and when you go to those markers, you'll just straight up get some objectives, no NPC, no nothing like that, just, oh hey, there's a thing to do here. Because really, they decided that there are some quests which don't require a ton of context, and a whole bunch of NPCs to just kind of, have mountains of quest text and all these things just to go collect 10 apples. They feel it bogs down the experience, and that, more importantly, it takes away from the important quests, the really fun, interesting ones that are story-related. So essentially, the random little side quests just going to be kind of in-the-world things, and then the main story quests are going to be their own thing. and hopefully, in their opinion anyway, once you see a quest marker, then you know that something interesting is going to be tied in with that. Hopefully, I mean, we don't know exactly, but it would definitely be great if it did turn out like that. So yeah, pretty interesting. And then also, there's a bit more of a freeform element there if you do just want to go and do some of those little side quest things. Well, it'll be a bit more like the Renown Hearts system in Guild Wars 2, where you just go to the parts of the map and do things. It's more exploratory, and that actually ties in really well with not being on a flying mount, because previously if you had quests which were taking you to 3 different areas of the map, well, you'd want to fly. I guess this way we're going to have a little bit more of a linear experience, yeah, with the main quests, but at least there'll be more exploratory stuff surrounding that you'll be able to do. Interesting. I can't wait to see how it pans out, and yeah, well, we'll just need to see the thing in action. Next, when talking about garrisons, they said that during the intro experience you will free a bunch of orcs, this is obviously from the Horde perspective, and then when you move up to Frostfire Ridge, Durotan will grant you with land for a garrison as a reward, so it's kind of tied in there very much from the get-go, and I think that's a pretty nice way of doing it actually. I'm glad that it's not just the sort of thing where you hit level 100, you get a breadcrumb quest which takes you somewhere, and you pay 10k and boom, you have a garrison. I think this is a much better, more kind of interwoven way of doing it. And then, of course, as we already heard in the previous interview yesterday, some quest givers and NPCs and things like that will be recruitable. Okay, so the next thing they talked about was Ashran, and it was Helinka himself actually was talking about it. He said that Ashran is an experiment, and that even things like Wintergrasp and Tolbarad were essentially just glorified battlegrounds. They're still going to support arenas and battlegrounds, though, moving forward, but they feel like it's time for something that's truly new. That, in my opinion, like as someone who sort of dabbles in PvP, that's absolutely the case. They need to add just more other kinds of gameplay to it. Anyway, so in Ashran there's going to be a kind of central lane place where there's a whole bunch of NPCs who are fighting, well, NPCs and enemy players and things like that. So you can go there and you can kill the enemy players and NPCs and that kind of thing, so that you can push towards their fort. But then in the outskirts of Ashran there are also interesting things to do. One of the examples that he gave was Timeless Isle style rare mobs which you could kill for a bonus or something like that. Now if you kill a rare on the opponent's side of the map though, you'll get a larger benefit than if you killed one on your side of the map. And then of course I guess you want to be trying to deny enemy teams from getting those kills, so that's an interesting little way of doing it. And of course there's going to be things like siege engines and various other kinds of side objectives. It seems pretty cool actually. Then he also talked about how it's going to work out quite well for both PvP and PvE players. And PvE people will just be able to kind of mingle into the background a little bit more, perhaps fight off some of the Horde NPCs, or just do kind of more passive damage on Horde players, whereas the PvP players who are just, they're there to kill other humans, and they can jump right into the battle and just really get stuck into that. Seems interesting though, and I like what I'm hearing so far. Then finally he said that they have a lot of new server tech, and they're going to be merging servers together inside Ashran, and they're going to make sure that it's always full and balanced in terms of the number of players. One thing that I'd like to know though is, if Ashran is supposed to be persistent and you're constantly merging players into Ashran, how do you ensure that that you're always going into the same instance of Ashran? Because obviously you'd want that continuity over the few day course of the battle. So not too sure how that's going to work, and I think they definitely need to clarify that at some point. Alright, so then also they said that one of the main ways to cut out the kind of idea of the level 90 boost people being just kind of noobs, really, is the whole Proving Ground system. Essentially, it's going to do a better job of telling people what you're doing wrong. That's going to be a post-patch feature, but at least for 6.0, they just want to split fresh players from experienced players via Proving Grounds until the fresh people are able to pull their weight, and hopefully the Proving Ground will be an indicator of that. Then, of course, since Proving Grounds are there for heroic dungeons, but not for normals, well, then the normal dungeons are going to be a pretty good place for new and boosted players to just kind of, cut their teeth and get going. So that's pretty cool. Then also, they said that they have more toy box style features planned, including heirlooms and tabards and various things like that. But right now, the main thing they're going to be doing for Warlords patch 6.0 is the toy box, and future patches will bring in additional storage-related features. And then also, quest items will not be stored in your bags, and mats will stack to 100, which we did hear about yesterday, but goddamn, that's so damn handy, isn't it? That's great. Okay, so next he said, it was really 3 Blizzard developers, by the way, and they said that they understand why people want cross-realm guilds and that kind of thing, but they think that there really is a lot of advantage to at least some degree of server community. And then before they went into a big spiel about level 90 boosts, they talked about how they are still discussing old dungeons and new announcements, and then one of the devs just swooped in and said that they know that one of the reasons why people wanted to scale is so they could help their low-level friends, but it's okay because now your low-level friends will get a free boost, so that's not needed. You don't get around gameplay features by for level 90 boost, whatever, that's cool, but you don't get around a gameplay feature or problem by adding in a non-game related system which surpasses it and circumvents it. That's not a thing you should do. So yeah, hopefully they still work on that and they find some sort of reward structure, because that has been the major sticking point for the feature. They just haven't really found a way to incentivize it and reward players. Okay, then finally, we have a little bit of a talk about the PAX beta key stuff. So essentially 1 or 2 people were streaming the Warlords alpha on twitch.tv, because the beta keys that they got at PAX, by the way, at PAX people were handed out beta keys when they went to the Warcraft booth, but anyway, some of those keys actually worked for the friends and family alpha, like the in-house one that Blizzard are doing at the minute. So some people were able to do that. They've decided they're not going to take action against anyone, but obviously those people can't get into the servers now. They're still going to have their beta access when the time rolls around, but yeah, that's basically the situation with that, because I know some people will have seen those streams and will be wondering, is the alpha out yet or anything like that? I can confirm that it isn't. There's no media people have been invited yet or anything like that. It's still just a firmly in-house thing with no external invites being, to the alpha at least, being given out at the minute. Anyway, that's basically it for today's show. There are definitely some interesting things there. I think it's definitely nice to hear about that quest information. That really has me excited, so overall, pretty good stuff. Anyway, that's it for the show. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.